It's Black History Month, so I figured why not start off with this incredible man. There are a lot of things that our educational system here in the United States doesn't want to teach our youth, especially when it comes to Black History Month. Oh, that is like kryptonite to racists. They want to make sure that they whitewash the out of that part of American history. Well, luckily, I have a history degree where I specialize in African American history between 1850 and roughly 1973. Being a foreigner from Eastern Europe and growing up in Western Europe, we were taught the truth about everything, regardless of what happened or who started it. The point was telling the truth. And here in the good old US of A, you guys don't like telling the full truth, especially when it comes to Black history. Today we're gonna be talking about this man, Fred Hampton. And let me tell you, this story that this young man has is incredible. Fred Hampton was born on August 30th, 1948 in Chicago, Illinois. His parents were originally from Louisiana, but moved north during the great immigration of African Americans in the early 20th century out of the South. At an early age, Fred was already gifted academically and athletically, wanting to eventually play for the New York Yankees. However, that went another direction. When at 10 years old, Fred noticed injustice being done to African Americans. See, Fred couldn't accept injustice anywhere. So at 10 years old, he started cooking breakfast for all the children in his neighborhood, regardless of race. Which I actually found out later had a correlation with the Black Panther free breakfast program. Yeah, the Black Panthers gave out free breakfasts. That's amazing. I want some free breakfast, man. During his high school years, he started walkout protests, protesting Black exclusion from competing for prom king and queen, and telling school board officials to hire more Black teachers and administrators. And this is where I started loving Fred Hampton even more. I loved him, but now I love him even more. He was a pure socialist, and exactly the reason why I wore this shirt. He was reading quotes and books from Ho Chi Minh and Mao Zedong. He was also strongly against the war in Vietnam, where Black people were sent to die for a country that hates them.
Yes, we are against any war where Black soldiers are sent to the front line to die for a country that hates them.
In 1966, at 18 years old, Fred became an active member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. He took over the Youth Council for the West Suburban branch. At his peak as a youth organizer, from a community of roughly 27,000, he managed to get a group of 500 youth members strong. He worked to get our educational system to change, to teach children the truth, which I wholeheartedly stand by. Here's a clip of Fred expressing revolution within education and how to gain revolution by teaching children the truth. Listen.
Another example, Papa Doc in Haiti. Papa Doc in Haiti hated everything white. Man, you couldn't put this white paper in front of Papa Doc's face, but he moved all the white people out and he took over and be a president. He did, causing no education. And the people that have been educated, they just said that we don't hate the mother white people, we hate the oppressor, whether he be white, black, brown, or yellow.
During his time of working with the youth, the Black Panther Party was gaining national prominence. Fred loved their approach, which was based on a 10-point program, integrating Black self-determination with class, race, and economic aspects. In 1967, he moved to downtown Chicago and joined the Black Panther Party. By 1969, he became the deputy chairman of the BPP Illinois chapter. And here's another thing that I really loved about Fred. He condemned sexism within the Black Panther Party, saying that sexism towards women or any gender is counter-revolutionary. By 1970, 40 to 70% of the Black Panther Party were women, which I find incredible just on its own. Fred stated in his speech that the Black Panther Party is a Marxist-Leninist party, which was speculated that this was the reason why the organization collapsed and was eventually dismantled by the state. Which makes total sense. That's what the United States still wants to do, to make sure that anything that goes against their capitalistic hellscape gets taken out. But what really put Fred on the map was the non-aggressive pact that he made with powerful gangs in Chicago. He said that their fighting from within is only making things worse for them and the community around them. It is keeping people in poverty, and the system is going to use that against them. That's what Fred was trying to stop. Now, don't get me wrong, Fred was not just involved with the Black community. He was involved with all aspects of any community, regardless of race. He wanted pure unity. And that's something that the United States government does not like, especially in 1969. They already have enough unification. Why do they need more unification? So of course, because of that, Fred Hampton was put on the FBI investigation list. It is believed that J. Edgar Hoover had a lot to do with this, the founder of the FBI. Hoover was determined to stop the formation of a strong black movement in the United States. Hoover believed the Panthers, Young Lords, Young Patriots, and other racial groups that Hampton created were the phoenix rising from the ashes with the notion of a revolution that could bring a major radical change in the United States government. In 1967, the FBI opened a file on Fred Hampton. They tapped all his family members' phones, even putting him on the Bureau's agitator index of key militant leader. Unbelievable. Now, here's the real disturbing part. When the Black Panthers were noticed in San Francisco, J. Edgar Hoover told his best guy, his biggest special agent in San Francisco, to go check out what the Black Panthers were doing. When he got there, he saw what they were doing and he called Hoover back. And guess what he told Hoover? The Black Panthers are just feeding breakfast to poor children. Hoover responded with a very blunt memo, telling the agents that their careers are on the line. And if they don't find evidence against the Black Panther Party that aligns with Hoover's view that the Black Panther Party was a violence-prone organization seeking to overthrow the government by revolutionary means. And that was Hoover's main goal. But in November 1969, when Hampton was in California, a shootout broke out between some of his BPP members and the police officers. 9 officers were shot, 2 of them were unalived. 1 Black Panther was unalived, and 1 of them was charged with murder. Now, I want you to understand what I just told you is just to set you up to what this escalated to. On the night of December 3rd, Hampton taught a political education course at a local church, which was mostly attended by Black Panther members. He was then accompanied by some of his BPP members to his Monroe Street apartment. There at the apartment was 20-year-old William O'Neill, a Black Panther member, where he was the director of chapter security, Fred's personal bodyguard, and an FBI informant. Fred was absolutely unaware of what was about to happen to him. It is presumed that night, O'Neill drugged Fred. It would be the last night Fred Hampton, 21 years old, would be alive. Several years later, O'Neill was asked in an interview if he ever drugged Fred. He denied the allegation. But I don't believe him. An autopsy was ran with 2 tests, and both of them came back with barbiturates in Fred's system. Kinda strange because Fred never took drugs. Let that sink in. Now, during that time, Cook County had a state attorney, Edward Hanrahan, which was criticized by Fred, saying that Hanrahan was talking about a war on gangs, which was just a ploy to enable him to start a war on black youth. This didn't sit well with Mr. Hanrahan, so he set up a raid to get Fred Hampton. At 4 a.m., 14 heavily armored police officers stormed Hampton's apartment. The scenario played out like this from eyewitness account. 8 officers took the front door, 4 took the rear part of the building. At 4:45 a.m., the first shots were fired. Mark Clark was sitting in the front room with a gun in his lap. He was unalived by a shot to the chest. In the bedroom laid Fred, unconscious as he was drugged by barbiturates. Next to him was his partner, which was 9 months pregnant with their child. The cops came in and removed her from the room. They then shot around where Fred laid, hitting him in the shoulder, and 1 officer walked up to him and unalived him execution style. The other Black Panther members that were in the house, of course, ran downstairs immediately. They were beaten and severely wounded and tossed to the streets. They were all charged with attempted murder of said police officers. The next day, BPP leaders sent Panther members to Fred's apartment with a videographer and a still photographer, because those pictures that they took prove that this was not an arrest. This was an assassination. It needs to be understood that the Black Panther Party is not a violent organization, nor do they condone violence. They were a group fighting for injustice and equality. And y'all know the United States don't like that. Fred was unalived in his home because he wanted everyone to have the same opportunities. Race was irrelevant. And the up thing is, this is still happening. This problem is still going on. And it needed to be dismantled decades ago. I want to read you guys a quote from Fred Hampton that injected me with so much inspiration. I hope it inspires you too. We gotta face some facts, that the masses are poor, that the masses belong to what you call the lower class. When I talk about the masses, I'm talking about the white masses. I'm talking about the black masses. I'm talking about the brown masses and the yellow masses too. We gotta face the fact that some people say you fight fire best with fire, but no, we say you put fire out best with water. We say you don't fight racism with racism. You gotta fight racism with solidarity. We say you don't fight capitalism with no black capitalism. You fight capitalism with socialism. What do you guys think of this story? And have you ever heard of Fred Hampton? Whatever your answer is, comment below, let me know. And if you can, please support the channel on Patreon. Get early access to all my videos, private Discord server where I go live every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can be a guest of my Patreon-only podcast, The Ghost Effect Podcast. I'll leave the link to my Patreon in the description and in the card right here. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my weekly videos. And if you want to see how the American dream doesn't exist, then check out that video right here.